Hello. Hello. Can you guys hear me at all? Let me know in those comments. What up? Check. Check. All right, you guys can hear me. What's up? Welcome to the live stream. I don't have anything in particular planned for today. I just had a little bit of extra time, finished up a project I was working on a little bit early, figured somebody says figured I'd hang out with you guys a little bit, answer a few questions. I've been going super hard. A lot of really new free training that we're getting ready. In fact, I just finished 4 new free trainings that are coming very shortly. I'll give you a little preview if I can grab my other monitor here. Which maybe I can't. Let's see here. Nope, not going to work. Never mind. I thought maybe I was going to get to show you guys. Anyways, I've got 4 new training programs that I'm going to put out. One called Power Handle that's going to help players get kind of a more powerful dribble and escape pressure so they don't turn the ball over as much. I've got another one called Insta Buckets. It's kind of a way to turbocharge your scoring average very quickly. I've got another one, Hot Shot Shooting Games. So like actual shooting games that you and your friends can do, but still get better at the same time. And then what's the other one I got over here? Oh, Quick Draw Shooting. So it's a quick 5-minute workout to help you get a much faster in-game jumper. So the reason why I create these specific kind of free training programs is because I make them specifically for most of the time the things that players need, right? So, I see players have a hard time with pressure, handling the ball, getting out of pressure. And so I make a ball handling program for that. So if you guys ever want help with something specific, I highly recommend you either leave it down in the comment sections down below or follow me on Instagram and shoot me a DM. My Instagram's @ShotMechanics, just like our name here on YouTube. And that's generally the best way for me to check it out. Now, I get a ton of DM messages, so I can't necessarily respond to every one of them. But a lot of times it's cool because I'll see it and then I can still add it to the list even if I don't get an opportunity to respond. So follow me @ShotMechanics on Instagram. And especially we're doing a lot of really cool Instagram content as well. So if you're on Instagram anyways, highly recommend you follow me. But I'm gonna go over here to the chat and then see if we got any questions. Professor M, hey, coach, I love you so much. Love you. Thank you. I appreciate the support, man. I appreciate the support from all you guys out there. Hey, Coach Dakota Webb. Hey, if you guys see Coach Dakota Webb, follow him on Instagram as well. He's a good dude who has a lot of good stuff. Do you think Stephen Curry changed the game of basketball? And if he did, please explain why. I do not understand, please. So Noah wants to know. So yeah. So Stephen Curry did change the game of basketball. So basically before Steph Curry came to the league, there wasn't as big of an emphasis on three-point shooting. People really didn't realize exactly how, effective three-point shooting could be and how much it could kind of swing a game because you could shoot a lower percentage from the three-point line and score more points. And then what people found out was as you had more shooters on the court, guys like Steph Curry, it creates a lot of gravity or floor spacing, meaning that if Steph Curry's further out and he's a great shooter and he's a threat, the defense has to extend to him. And so it makes the rest of the players on his team get easier looks, right? And so I wouldn't necessarily say just Steph Curry changed the game. I think the pairing and the combination of him and Klay Thompson being on the same team kind of more changed the game than just one of them individually, just because people saw once you have multiple shooters on the floor and multiple people that can space it, and multiple people that can be a threat, then all of a sudden everything else opens up, right? So hopefully that kind of makes sense. People just realized that a three-point shot was actually still a high percentage shot, and because of it, a lot of good stuff could happen. Let's see what else we got. So he says, what do you think about the Kyrie 4 low? Are they worth it? So I like the Kyrie 4 lows. I like them a lot. I like that they have a really low kind of court feel. For me, I don't like a shoe where I feel like I'm way off of the ground. Like the LeBrons most of the time feel a little weird for me. So I like low court feel. Kyrie 4 is awesome for that. Awesome on the 4-foot lockdown. Overall, pretty good shoe. The one thing I would say is if you like a lot of cushioning or you like that kind of comfortable ride, the Kyrie 4 is probably not the best bet for you. I would go with something maybe more along the lines of like the PG line if you're looking for something kind of like that. But it's really just kind of depends player to player. Depends on what you like. Also, I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, you might have saw, but I got to go to New York City. I had a couple business meetings, which what I'm working on is going to blow your minds. It's blowing my mind currently. I can't even believe that I'm doing it. Unfortunately, I can't let you guys know until probably next month exactly what's going on with that. But I was in New York. I got to go to my very first New York Knicks game. My guy, John Jenkins, just signed a 2-year contract with the Knicks, so he was playing up there. My other guy, Anthony Tolliver, was playing for the Timberwolves, so that was really cool to get to go to the Madison Square Garden and check out kind of like an NBA game in the Mecca, as they call it. You know, a lot of people say Madison Square Garden is the best arena on the planet. And after going there, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I had a pretty good experience. We're going to drop a vlog here on the channel shortly. Editor Jake's working on that. He'll probably have it done next week, if I had to guess. So if you want to kind of see like a VIP behind the scenes experience at Madison Square Garden, be on the lookout for that one. Justice Brickley wants to know, Coach C, what is your favorite NBA team? Good question. So my original favorite NBA team was the Seattle Supersonics. Back in the day when the Thunder used to be the Sonics and they were in Seattle. I'm from Washington State originally, so that was my squad. When they got moved, I officially cut all ties. I hate the Thunder now. Not a fan because they stole a team from us here. Well, I guess I don't live in Washington anymore, but when I did, felt like they stole the team. So not a fan of them anymore. So other than that, I've kind of been a little bit of a closeted Kings fan. I was a big fan of the Kings teams back in the day with like, you know, Mike Bibby and Peja Stojakovic and, you know, Brad Miller and all those dudes, Bobby Jackson. So I've been a Kings fan. I haven't jumped off the bandwagon the whole time. And so finally they're starting to look like they're getting together a lot. I love De'Aaron Fox. I love Marvin Bagley Jr. I think the Harrison Barnes pickup was awesome for them. You know, and it's cool because I actually like called that De'Aaron Fox was going to be a great player and actually get his shooting together on his rookie season. So, you know, it's cool. It's great to see that Sacktown's got a team again. And they're actually pretty frisky. Like if they get into the playoffs, which I think they probably will, or if they kind of sneak in there, it'll be pretty interesting. They're kind of dangerous. I like it. It's flower. Okay, so Thomas, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at names, so my apologies if I butcher you. Thomas Schnickenstock. I don't know. Says shop mechanics. My arc is so high and it is flat. What should I do? Please do this more often. So I think he's asking his shot arc is inconsistent. So inconsistent arc can come from a few different things. It kind of depends on your other mechanics. You know, a lot of times it's going to be because of either shoulder tension if it's going to be low, right? Sometimes if it's too high, it might just be that your release is too high up. It's a little bit different for every player, so it's hard to tell without actually seeing you shoot. So unfortunately, I can't give you much better information than that. What I would highly recommend doing is going on my channel, search shooting arc in the little search bar that you can pop up, and you'll find a lot of good videos, and so you'll probably be able to figure it out once you watch a few of those. Good question, though. You should do, or D1 Thompson says you should do a Cam Reddish shooting secrets. That's a phenomenal idea. I think Cam Reddish is a lot better than people think he is, right? Everybody talks a lot about Zion. Everybody talks a lot about RJ Barrett. But I actually think that Cam Reddish might end up being one of the best draft prospects because he can shoot it. He can stretch the floor. He's athletic. He reminds me a ton of like a little bit more athletic Klay Thompson. And so like just that ability to stretch the floor, to knock down big shots. I feel really good about Cam Reddish. So that's a great idea on the Cam Reddish breakdown. The only problem with doing college breakdowns is the NCAA is super, super stingy with their footage. And so most of the time if I put a video up, it gets flagged really quickly. I lose the AdSense on it. It's not a ton of money anyway, so I can do it. But sometimes they get like I've heard of people getting flagged and actually having their like having like a content strike on it. And so I'm a little wary to risk that. So I do it from time to time, but Cam Reddish might be a good one to try. All right, Sea Blue TV, opinion on Eastbay. What do you mean, just like as a company in general? I mean, I love Eastbay. I've been shopping at Eastbay since I was probably 12, somewhere around there. And then it was like a dream come true to have them be a sponsor in this last year. Awesome people, awesome stuff. It's great because they have exclusive colorways and they have free shipping on most all the products inside of the United States. So most of the time, if I'm going to buy something, I buy it off of Eastbay. You know, so I would recommend them as an awesome premium outlet. They do a lot of cool collaborations with different shoe companies and different players and that sort of stuff. So I know like Steph Curry was just one of their cover athletes. So they did a lot of cool extra stuff with Steph. So I like Eastbay. I think they're cool. I mean, you can buy your stuff elsewhere if you want to, but free shipping, exclusive colorways, doesn't get much better than that. What else we got? Camden, how do you feel about your Eagle High club? I feel great about it. So I'm coaching a team of seventh graders at a local high school around here, just for fun. It's a great group of kids to work with. So if you move to Idaho, I can maybe be your coach. Let's see here. All right, Nicholas Gebenbetsty. I'm sorry, I just butchered that name bad. Great question here, though, Nicholas. He says, is it bad to shoot with a low set point? I shoot for my chest at age 14. My coach wants me to switch my jumper, but it feels comfortable to shoot. What should I do? So I kind of think about a set point a lot of times is it's gonna develop as you develop in age, right? One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of coaches make is that they say, hey, you've got to get a high set point up here, and they're teaching it to like fourth graders and fifth graders and kids that just aren't strong enough or aren't big enough to make it happen. So with that being said, it's going to change a little bit. It's probably going to start at your chest when you're in elementary school. As you get to junior high, it's going to come up to maybe your chin. And then as you get to high school, you probably want to try to get it up to your eyebrows. And then if you keep playing, maybe a little higher. So at 14, it depends on your body a little bit. I would say, you know, because 14-year-olds have such a wide range of bodies. Some are like fully developed, some aren't. I would say now is about the time you want to start probably creeping it up at least to your chin or at least to your eye. If you get stuck at your chest for too long, it is gonna be hard to get your jumper off once you get to kind of that varsity level and at the high school level. So I would recommend starting the shift now, but just little by little. The biggest mistake a lot of people make is they go from here and then they just try to put it all the way up here, and it's a disaster. Just try to scoot it up a little bit at a time. If you're comfortable at your chest, then move it up just under your chin. Once you get comfortable there, then move it up just kind of right above your chin. Then once you get comfortable there, maybe right kind of on your eye, then just a little higher and go like that. So don't make a huge jump all at once. Just baby steps to push it up. Let's see here. But with that being said, a lot of players assume that they have to have a high set point like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. And a lot of coaches teach that same thing. We're seeing a lot of players be really successful with a lower set point somewhere by the eyebrow or sometimes even a little bit lower. So if you look at the NBA, like Steph Curry, his set point's right about at his eyebrow. Damian Lillard, his set point's at his eyebrow. Kyrie Irving, his set point's at his eyebrow. Trae Young, who's, you know, one of the best all-time, you know, college seasons when it comes to shooting, and he's actually just starting to get hot in the pros now. He actually has a really low set point that's kind of down by his eyebrow, maybe even a little lower. And the thing about him is he doesn't even jump very high. So, you know, a lot of times coaches will tell you, number one, you can't have a low set point because you're never going to get your shot off. Just not true. Number two, they say you have to jump really high because you're not going to be able to get your shot off. Just not true. Just watch Trae Young. He had 38 last night and was absolutely cooking the Rockets. And he jumps about this high off the ground and keeps the ball right here by his eye. So really, it's more about the rest of your mechanics and how quick your release is, more so than actual the set point in your lift. Let's see here. Stephen Curry, 30 in the chat. Just kidding. Hey, coach, any tips? What separates good players from the greatest players? Good question. I would say that the thing that separates, you know, most good to great players is the work ethic and the intangibles, right? I know a ton of guys in the NBA that are mega talented, freak athletes, can have a ball on a string, can shoot the rock for days, but it's really the intangibles and the work ethic and the kind of mentality that separate, good from great. So think about like, if you're a great player, you always know the score and the time. You always know who's up. You always know who's down. You start thinking about, knowing different players and different personnels and that sort of stuff. So really, it's a lot of mentality stuff that separate the good from great. Because think about like a guy like Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan's widely considered the greatest basketball player of all time. Just an absolute animal, 6 championships, all that sort of good stuff. But the thing about Michael Jordan is, there's been people who are more athletic than Michael Jordan. There's been people who are probably better shooters than Michael Jordan. There's been people who are probably better dunkers than Michael Jordan. There's been people who might have even been better defenders than Michael Jordan. But the difference was he put it all together and then had those intangibles. He had the killer instinct. He had the drive. He had the work ethic. He had the competitiveness. So that's really the difference between good and great, right? I know a lot of good players, but the great ones are the ones that do the little things. And especially when it comes to kind of mentality, that's a big one. Let's see here. Shouts to my guy Dakota Webb in here in the chat helping people out. I dig. All right, so Godinez Por El Mundo says, I always get nervous starting the game. How can I improve that? So nerves are tough, right? And they affect everybody a little bit different. Some people more than others. And it's weird because like it can even happen like differently sport to sport. I ran a lot of like long distance running growing up. It's actually what I'm a lot better at than basketball. But I used to get like super nervous for running long distance. Like before they like fired the gun, I'd feel like I was going to throw up, had the butterflies in my stomach. It was a terrible experience. I hated it. For basketball, I was never nervous, right? And so I think a lot of it has to do with your preparation and your mentality. It's a lot easier to be not nervous. Does that even make sense? It's a lot easier to not be nervous. Maybe. If you've prepared. Right. So I think most of the time when players get nervous, it's because they don't feel confident in their preparation or they don't feel confident in their work. So the number one thing I could say to probably improve your nervousness is just to make sure that you're prepared, right? Working on your game, make sure you're doing everything to make sure that you don't have any chinks in the armor or any weaknesses or any of that sort of stuff. I would say that would be number one. Number two, you can actually do mental things like visualization, preparing for the game, having a routine, all that sort of stuff to kind of help you out, right? When I was playing competitively, I had a routine. Every single day before a game, I'd have a hot tub, then I would have the same snack, then I would watch the same show, then I would do the same warm-up, then I would do this and this and this. And because of that routine, it really made it so like I focused on myself and not the actual game itself. So like my guy, Anthony Tolliver, I was just hanging out with him the other day. He's got his same routine too. He takes a nap on game day. He has a meal. He has this, he does that. And so it's kind of the same sort of structure. And so what I would recommend is getting a structure and then also working on your game. A lot of times if you pair those together, you get some good results. All right, so Flaming Basketball Club says, Shot Mechanics, can you do a live stream of your day job? This is my day job. I'm live streaming right here. So what a lot of people don't know is I do this full time, right? I coach, I do online training, and I do the YouTube channel full time. So, for the most part, I don't train a ton in person. I used to grind it out and do a ton of personal training sessions and group training sessions and clinics and camps and all that sort of stuff. But now I focus more on raising a family, staying at home, building a business, doing all that sort of stuff. So right here, I mean, in this office, this is where I spend most of my time when it comes to actually kind of making stuff, making content, and so this is my day job. A lot of people think like, oh, you're a YouTuber, like it must be easy. You just like hang out. And it's not. I mean, I was in the office here till like 2 a.m. last night. I got back to the office at about 9 a.m. this morning. And so I'm still here and it's almost 5. So it's definitely not as glamorous as people think it is. It's more so I just like creating as much content as I can to help more people. And I just posted something on my Instagram just the other day. And by the other day, I think it might have been yesterday, where I get a lot of people that ask me, And they want to argue about shooting. They want to say that they're right and I'm wrong and whatever. Like, I don't care. But what they always say is like, well, what pros have you worked with? Well, what pros have you worked with? And I've worked with a handful of pros, but not near as many as I could have. I've had a lot of opportunities to work with players that I turned down because it didn't fit my schedule, didn't fit my lifestyle, didn't fit what I wanted to do, right? I'm not one of these guys that's going to go out here and be a jersey chaser and like move to Los Angeles and just follow pros around just to try to get a picture with them to then post on Instagram to show you guys like, hey, I work out with pros. Like, I don't care about that. I care more about like, you know, the 7th graders around the world that I help make, or that I help, you know, make their, you know, varsity team in junior high, or I help the player become a starter when they've been a bench player in the past, or I help the player earn that college scholarship. Like, those are the players I care more about rather than helping people who are already millionaires who have already made it. So a lot of times people ask me like, why do you live in Idaho? Well, number 1, it's close to the home that I grew up. Number 2, it's a low cost of living. Number 3, it's a great place to raise a family. I work with a lot less professional players because of it. I don't care. That's not my goal. That's not my end goal. If I could work with, you know, nothing but pro players for the rest of my life, I absolutely wouldn't do it. You know, if I wanted to be an NBA shooting coach with an NBA franchise right now, there's no doubt in my mind I could have done it if I wanted to, but I don't. So, you know, the whole thing that we want to think about when it comes to like helping people and giving back to the community and helping, you know, people in the world, like my thought process was, if I help people by putting content online and content on YouTube, I can help so many more people than if I was just like doing normal coaching, and if I was doing workouts, and if I was working with pro players and camps and clinics and that sort of stuff. I mean, right now, I think on our YouTube channel alone, I think we've got 85 million video views. Like let that sink in for a second. 85 million video views. And it's not like I'm doing a lot of like entertainment content, sensationalized content. It's mostly all learning and training, right? And so I really love the fact that I can impact players from around the world instead of just like 10 kids a year or 12 kids a year, or, you know, 6 professionals, 10 professionals a year, like whatever it is, right? So that's really the reason why I do the YouTube channel, why it's been my main focus. And so to kind of the long story short back around, live stream your day job, this is it, man. Just trying to help as many of you guys as I possibly can. Let's see here. What are your tips so I can make team next year? Okay. Camden wants to know, what are your tips so I can make the team next year? Like, what should I improve on? Well, it all just kind of depends player to player. For you personally, Camden, it's probably more, I don't know. We'll talk about that in person if I see you. But for most players, so I have 2 really good videos on my YouTube channel. Go to the channel, put up the little search bar and search tryouts. And I have a few like tryout hack videos. They're some of my better content because they're a really, really good way to impress coaches, to know what to expect at tryouts, little tricks and tips to get noticed. So I would definitely check those 2 videos out. They're really good. They're a little bit old. I think they might be about 2 years old, but still prime content. Some of y'all wild in these comments. All right, so Charles Bonner says, Coach C, do you coach at Eagle High? If so, my cousin plays there. She is a guard. Is that Anna Lynn by chance? If so, I've worked out with her before in the past. But yeah, I mean, I coach at Eagle High for like the junior high kids just for fun, just to kind of do a little bit of extra stuff. I started training with a few of the kids and then really liked working with them. So I'm not like a high school coach per se, more just like a little AAU team. All right, could you please answer How to Get Faster by Satovic Chikala? I can't read. I'm sorry. My eyes are bugging. I'm running on low sleep. So to get faster, I highly, highly, highly recommend my guy, Henry Barrera. Henry Barrera. Go to Instagram and follow him. It's at Hoop Diaries. Hoop Diaries. So I had a back injury in high school and I lost all my speed. I tore like this big muscle in my back, lost all my speed. I found him just kind of like by happenstance, went to a speed clinic he was putting on, literally got faster in like 3 days. It kind of jump-started my athleticism back. And we've been great friends ever since. We've done a lot of cool projects with Nike and the Jordan brand and a lot of cool stuff. Now he is the head strength and conditioning coach for the Liberty University men's basketball team. So he's a Division I men's basketball strength and conditioning specialist. So follow him on Instagram. Follow him because he's got a lot of great stuff. I'm hoping I can make it out there soon so we can shoot some content because literally when it comes to speed and strength, the dude is world class. He's the best I've ever seen, the best I've ever dealt with. And literally he's like my ride or die. No doubt about it. So to really answer your question, I don't really know personally how to do it. But he's the man. Let's see here. Scott Kelly wants to know, how do you plan your workouts? Good question. So most of the time, my workouts are going to differ a ton depending on what age the player is, right? So if I'm working out with like a fourth grader, it's going to be a lot different than if I'm working out with a pro. But generally, they follow kind of the same workflow, and then I tweak and I move things around depending on the things that we're wanting to work on. So very first and foremost, unless it's like a big group training, I'm trying to figure out specific things that we're wanting to work on for that specific player. So if I'm working with a pro guy, we're going to look at kind of the holes in their game, and those are probably going to be the things that we work on, right? With most of the pro consulting that I do, it's a lot more mechanical based, so it's not so much of a workout as it is more like a tweaking and tinkering. But if I'm doing like an actual skill development workout, it's going to depend. Now, if it's like a full group session, I've got like, 10 to 20 kids there that are working. It's a little bit harder to be, super specific player to player. So instead, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do kind of like a warm up, then a shooting, then a ball handling. Then I kind of build these blocks together. So a lot of times we'll start with the skill itself, kind of the micro skill. Then we'll move to like a semi-live where you're making some sort of read, right? And then we'll move to a live progression. So most of the time it's kind of that 3 progression where it's a breakdown, semi-live, and then live off of it. And then that way we're kind of building the building blocks for each thing. So you can do that if you're doing a ball handling drill, if you're working to, do retreat out of pressure stuff. You can do that if you're doing, catch and shoot drills, off the dribble drills. Basically, you can do everything, but it always comes back to live repetition where we're going 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, something like that. A lot of the times it's structured, right? So we'll say, 3 dribble max, or you have to start with this kind of pass, or you have to start with this kind of catch, or the defender has to start here, something structured to make sure that it's not just helter-skelter. But generally, that's kind of the structure. Let's see here. Best shoe of all time, ADK Stream. Great question. My number 1 shoe of all time, and it's not even close, is the Kobe 6s. The Kobe 6s. Those are the ones that kind of looked like they had like the snake skin. It's kind of like a rubbery texture on the outside. Those are my all-time favorite. They molded to my foot perfectly. They were light enough, but they had good cushioning, good support. I would wear nothing but the Kobe 6s, but like they're all like $400+ on Eastbay now. I've heard that they're getting ready to redrop them as a retro, which would be freaking sick. And I would probably buy like 10 pairs when they do, just because like I'm waiting for them. I'm waiting for those Kobe 6s. Good question though. Can I dunk? David Buckingham wants to know. No, I cannot. At least not right now. I had like a 8-month window of dunking. I went really hard with plyometrics training, all that sort of stuff when I was in college, and I got pretty springy. I gained like, I think 9 inches on my vertical leap through, the 2 rounds of plyometrics that I did. So that was fun while it lasted, but my body's just not naturally explosive. I have much more like long distance and endurance running stuff. Like I ran like in 7th grade, I think my best mile time was 5 minutes and 15 seconds. Like I was a world-class distance runner. I just hate distance running. So my body's just not really meant to be super springy. And so like to keep it up that way, I've got to like train hard and train hard and train hard and train hard. And what I found is the harder I train, the less time I have to make videos, to help you guys, to spend time with my family. And so at this point in my life, it's just not worth it. Now I look like kind of a slow dude on the internet who's making videos, but oh well, what are you going to do? Lucky wants to know, yo, could you help me, please? What's the best way to score in a game, and how do you become more consistent in shooting? So kind of 2-part question. Score in a game. The easiest way to start scoring more in a game is what I call mini goals. Mini goals. The biggest problem that a lot of players have is they get in a game and they don't really kind of be aggressive enough when they catch the ball, or be aggressive enough in their opportunities. They just kind of catch the ball, swing it around. They don't look to create, right? So what I always try to have my players do is create mini goals. And this might be 3 to 5 goals that they try to do in a game. Now, mini goals aren't like, hey, I'm going to score 10 points. They're very, very much more micro than that. So it's like, this game I'm going to try to shoot 5 3-pointers, or this game I'm going to try to take it to the rack and get a layup up 3 times, or whatever it is. So they're more like action-based goals, not results-based goals, because that's going to keep you, engaged as you go along in the game. If your game's to shoot 5 3-pointers in the game and you get through the first quarter and you haven't shot a 3 yet, you're probably going to want to start looking for a 3, right? So we're not saying, and with these goals, I'm not saying just like, chuck it up to get your 5, but it just makes you more active in hunting your shot and hunting those things. And thus that's going to lead to more points, right? So the biggest problem and the reason why players don't score points isn't because they're not good enough. It's because they don't take advantage of the opportunities when they're there. So mini goals are a great way. Mini goals might be X number of 3-point shots, X number of pull-up jumpers, get to the free throw line X number of times, get 2 feet inside of the paint X number of times, get a drive and kick to your teammate X number of times if you're trying to get assists. And you can either break them down by half or by quarter or by game. So that's like by far the best way to do it. I had a player last year that I was working with at the high school level, phenomenally talented player, could shoot the ball. He was like 6'4", awesome player. But he was only averaging like 8 points a game. And most of it was because he was just kind of content to swing the ball around the horn. He wasn't super aggressive. We gave him a few mini goals. And then after that, for like the last, I think it was six or 7 games of the season, he ended up averaging 22, right? So we went from 8 to 22, not by training differently, not by doing anything differently in the offense, but instead just having mini goals and being aggressive when he caught the basketball. Daniel Anthony knows, what are your best separation moves? So I've got kind of like 2 separation moves that are my all-time go-tos. Number 1 is the pullback, right, where I'm throwing my shoulders forward, yanking the ball backwards. It's the exact move that Trae Young did to PJ Tucker yesterday. If you were watching the Atlanta Hawks and Houston Rockets game, that's my all-time go-to. But my second one's definitely going to be a step back. So after a crossover, plant and then push off of it. Those are my 2. If you can master a pullback and you can master a step back, you become really, really, really hard to guard at pretty much any level because you can create that separation and go at it. Can you analyze Flight versus Bone Collector 1v1? I don't know. That's not really, that kind of analyzation isn't really necessarily what I do. But I can tell you, Bone Collector is my dude. I've met him a few times through the NBA Playmakers stuff. We actually have some videos coming out together on NBA Playmakers where we're doing kind of like an interview type of thing. And Bone Collector is one of the best dudes I've ever met in my entire life. Super nice, super friendly, just salt of the earth guy. So support him. If you're on one of his videos, some say, hey, what's up? Shop Mechanics says, hey, because he's a good dude. And I think we're working on bringing you guys some training stuff too, because his handle is ridiculous. Let's see here. All right, so Atipi says, hey, Coach, what do you think about international players being more and more involved and recognizing the NBA? I'm from France. Good question. So here's the thing that a lot of players don't understand. In the past, the pool of basketball players has been dominated by Americans, right? It's an American sport. It's much more popular here than it is overseas, but that's changing super, super fast. If you're looking at the talent and the skill and the size and the athleticism that's coming out of the world, like, it wouldn't surprise me if we ended up with like 5 or 6 more Giannis Antetokounmpos coming from all over the place, right? Just because if you think about like the global population, there's a ton of people out there. And so just by default, as basketball becomes more popular, there's going to be better people that come along. Just in Africa alone, there's going to be a massive influx of, giant skilled players that are coming to the league. So, what that tells me is 2 things. Number 1, if you're overseas, you got a shot. Awesome. Number 2, if you're in the United States, you better not sleep because there's more talent coming up, right? So, that's kind of my thoughts. There's going to be a more influx. And I would guess that probably at some point, maybe not in the immediate future, but, somewhere in the next 20 years, 15 years, I would suspect that the NBA draft is probably going to be about 50-50 US based athletes versus foreign athletes. And then it might even start to skew more foreign as the game grows. The NBA is phenomenal at marketing their stars, knowing how to promote the game. So I wouldn't doubt if that international audience starts growing more. Man, I wish I could answer like all these questions. So many good questions. I'm trying to find like a good one. Can you personally DM me on Instagram, brother? You got to DM me. I got like a bazillion people in my DMs. I'll try. Try to DM me and I'll see if I can get to it. All right. So Rami says, "Hey, Coach Colin, could I have train or meet you? I'm from Chicago and willing to fly out there to train." Unfortunately, my schedule for personal training and for clinics is really difficult right now. This other project that I'm working on, which I can't reveal, is taking a ton of my time. So I've had to like cut back even a lot of this, the training and that sort of stuff that I've done. But it's moving really, really fast. I've had some super like crazy meetings. If you guys knew the meetings that I've been in the last like 3 or 4 months and the people that I've met and had dinner with and got to like chop it up with, your minds would be blown. And so unfortunately, because of that, the training is a lot less. So I can't guarantee that I would have enough time for you. I'm hoping once stuff settles down, I might be able to start doing more clinics, do a little bit more traveling for that sort of stuff. But right now it's like the eyes are on this big prize because honestly, it could very well change the face of basketball training forever, the face of media forever, the face of athletics forever. And so we're getting a lot of really good steam. And like I mentioned before, hopefully in the next month, I can let you in on it. I'm like dying to tell everybody, but I just got to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Love it. Coach Dakota Webb. Coach C, I know I've said it before, but been one of my favorite followers for a long time. Even now, it's important for me to continue challenging myself as a coach, and appreciate you for that perspective. Thanks, Dakota. So if you're on Instagram, follow Coach Dakota Webb. He's phenomenal, does a lot of great stuff. And that's what basketball is all about. The thing that drives me most bonkers in the coaching industry with basketball is like everybody's so dang competitive with each other. Like who's got more followers and who knows this and who knows that and who worked with this and who worked with who and who were like all that sort of crap doesn't matter. All right. At the end of the day, it's about how many players you can get better, the impact you can make on the world, and the positive changes you can make in players' lives. And so that's why I love a guy like Dakota, because he's in it for stuff just like that. So if you want, follow him on Instagram. Really good dude. Has some good breakdowns and has a lot of good content. So you definitely want to check that out. Some of these inappropriate comments that get flagged are bonkers. All right. So Bob Graham says, "Coach, every time I shoot, I forget my mechanics and shoot different every time. How do I keep the same shot every time?" So I would say that, it depends player to player. Sometimes it differs. But for the most part, when I see that question or I see somebody say that, it means that they're focusing on too many things, right? Now, I know I talk a ton about a lot of different shooting mechanics, right? If we break down everything in a jumper, we could talk about 40 to 50 different, things. But the whole thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that you're only focusing on 1 or 2 mechanics at a time, 1 or 2. Even if I'm working with really high-level players, I will never have them focus on more than 2 at a time. Just because if you're trying to focus on too many mechanics at a time, it's just too much to get to stick. So what I see is a lot of players is they'll be thinking, okay, I need to do this with my hand. I need to do this with my chest. I need to do this with my feet. I need to do this with the ball. And then I need to aim here. And if they think about too many things, nothing sticks, right? It's basically like if you were studying for a math test and all you did was just study like the entire book very, very briefly, right? You're probably going to still fail the test. But instead, if you only study the chapter that you're having your test on, you're going to have a lot better results a lot faster. So what I would recommend is only picking 1 thing to work on and really concentrate on that. So if it's, getting your hand up underneath the ball, then that's all you want to think about, right? Don't think about your feet. Don't think about your shoulders. Don't think about your eyes. Don't think about all that sort of stuff. Once you master it and that starts to feel good, then start to think about something else. Maybe it's your feet. Maybe it's something else. So simplify it. Pick one, maybe two max, and that'll probably help you out. Charles Bonner says, I go to Idaho every year for vacay and want to be able to train with you. Are you open this summer to train? I might be. Just depends on the time, depends on the travel. Hit me up on Instagram. That's generally the best way to kind of get in. YouTube's like messaging systems like wonky. Sometimes they come in, sometimes they don't. So hit me up on Instagram, and we'll see if we can link up. Oh, good question. So somebody asked, how did you become a great shooter? So the way I personally became a great shooter was I became my own shooting coach. And I think this is a really, really underrated aspect when it comes to shooting and shooting instruction is a lot of players are looking for somebody to tell them the answers, right? Which is normal, which is fine. But the way you can become a great shooter is to become your own shooting coach. Learn the knowledge. Learn how the mechanics work together. That's why my channel is such a great resource, because I legitimately feel like I've made thousands of shooting coaches out of players that have been able to work their own shot, right? So generally, if you can become your own shooting coach and you know what the problem is, why you're missing left, why you're missing right, why you're missing back, why you're missing front, why you might be inconsistent, and you start to kind of know the knowledge, then you can solve it yourself and you don't have to rely on anybody else. The biggest problem I had growing up was I had a really big shooting slump in high school because I didn't know the knowledge. I just trusted a coach to tell me what I was supposed to do. Spoiler alert, he didn't know what he was talking about, right? So I ended up like being in a cold slump for about a year and a half because the guy I trusted and the person I thought didn't know what he was talking about. He acted like he knew what he was talking about, like a lot of coaches do, because a lot of coaches are ego-driven and can't tell them or can't say, hey, I don't know. But so instead, you need to gain the knowledge. You need to decide how you can, work your own jump shot, what mechanics you need to work on, what drills you need to work on. So that's why I always say, like when people become good shooters after watching my content or working with me, it has little to do with me. All I am is the tool, right? It's basically like if you're building a house. All I am is the hammer. Like if you set a hammer on the table, it's worthless. It does no good. But it depends on if you pick up the hammer and actually use it, then it becomes valuable, right? And so you guys are the same thing. The hammer is not what's valuable in building a house. It's the construction worker or the person who actually builds it. And it's the exact same thing. You guys are the construction workers. I'm just the hammer. Hopefully we can teach you to use me right. Charles, yeah, Brian's my dog. He's who I used to work out with. Elise or Annalyn, probably your cousin, and Elise, her best friend. So yeah, Brian, I totally know Brian. Tell him I said what's up. I got just a couple more minutes here. Also, Charles, tell him I said congratulations on the state W. They just won the state championship. All right, somebody says, what days do you go live on YouTube? It's pretty hit or miss right now. I should probably get more of a schedule. If you'd like more of a schedule, leave in the comments right now. And if there's a big enough demand, I'll start trying to put it on the schedule and get it going. Because these live streams are pretty dope. Also, like I said before, follow me on Instagram at Shot Mechanics because I do live streams on there. But what's super dope about Instagram when I do the live streams is I can actually pull players in to ask questions. So like the last live stream I did, people would request to join the live stream. I'd have them pop up. They get on camera with me, ask a question. I could answer them in real time. And then that way it's really cool because if they have like a follow-up question, if they say, okay, but what do you mean by this? Then I can kind of explain it as well. So if you want to be a part of the show and you want to do that, follow me on Instagram because the lives over there are bang as well. Normally I have Instagram going at the same time, like Instagram live, at the same time as YouTube, but I wanted to give you YouTube peeps a little extra love today. All right, so Jazz HD says, I despise conditioning. Most people do. Most people hate conditioning. What I would recommend is try to figure out a way to condition while having fun at the same time, whether it's playing one-on-one with your friends, whether it's making some sort of game out of it where you're competing against yourself. That's generally the best way to condition just because, conditioning is lame. Like nobody likes that. What time is it? Well, it's 4:55. I got to get home. It's dinner time with the fam. But hey, I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. Make sure you're subscribing to the Shop Mechanics channel if you haven't already. And if you're still here, turn on that bell notification. YouTube's been doing all sorts of dumb stuff where like my videos won't even show up to subscribers and they won't show up in the search bar and all sorts of dumb nonsense going on. So turn on that bell if you want to see, because we got some real fire content, some new shooting instruction that I've developed, some new free giveaways, all that sort of good stuff. So make sure that bell's turned on so you can see what is up. Other than that, what else do I got for you? Oh, follow me on Instagram at Shop Mechanics. We're really trying to build out our Instagram following. It would mean the world to me if you follow me over there. We do giveaways over there. We do kind of micro content. So instead of longer YouTube videos, they're like kind of shorter micro content. So if you want that sort of stuff, definitely going to want to check that out. You all are awesome. I appreciate you. And until next time, look at that broken pinky. Till next time, splash on.